Happy New Year, everyone. I hope 2026 has been treating you well so far. Now that we are back in full swing and families are back from their holidays, many clients have been asking me what their next property move should be. So perhaps you have also been thinking about upgrading and you have been looking at both resale and new launch options. In general, searching for the ideal resale unit, especially for family stay, was quite challenging in 2025. You may have faced with same issue where good sized 3 and 4 bedroom units were either very limited in supply or owners were asking for prices way above the last transacted levels. So because of that, you might have started looking at the new launch market and saw some projects that you liked. But after considering your family needs, you realize that waiting 3 to 4 years for construction to complete may not be ideal. So the big question is, are there any new launches worth considering, but where we don't want to wait so long to move in? Today, we are going to dive into the existing new launch inventory that fits this criteria. As always, if you like my content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. My WhatsApp contact is also here if you ever need any consultation. So this is the summary of what we are going to discuss today. Firstly, we are going to look at the current balance of the new launch, just inventory, where the estimated TOP dates are from now till Q1 2028. The reason for this time frame is because we are looking for projects where we can move in within about 2 years. We are going to focus less on the investment angle in this video and focus more on family size units like 3 and 4 and 5 bedrooms under a quantum of about $4 million. And next, we will compare what it looks like from a cost perspective if we were to rent for 2 years versus buying a resale unit for immediate move-in, like what are the costs involved. So now let's go straight into it and look at the launches that fit these criteria. I've tabulated a list of projects that have an estimated key collection timeframe from now till Q1 2028. But before that, I want to quickly explain two terms, the estimated TOP and the Notice of Vacant Possession, or NOVP for short. For the Temporary Occupation Permit, TOP, this is when the developer has passed the mandatory checks with the authorities and the condo is considered safe and habitable. Even though not all facilities may be ready yet, the developer can issue keys for buyers to move in and landlords can officially rent out their units. Usually, the estimated TOP comes before the NOVP because sometimes the developer manages to complete the project faster than expected. However, while the developer may give an estimated TOP out of goodwill, they are not contractually bound to this date. This is different from the Notice of Vacant Possession, where the developer is contractually bound to deliver the unit by a specific date stated in the option to purchase and sale and purchase agreement. If they fail to do so, they may need to pay liquidated damages to the buyer. So, as we have seen in some cases during COVID where there were delays. So what I've done here is to list both the estimated TOB and also NOVP dates for projects like the Lake Garden, Pine Tree Hill, Lantoria, Continuum, Diamond, so on and so forth. Do take note that Grand Diamond is also on this list, but most of the remaining family-sized units are above 4.5 million, so it doesn't fit our criteria and we won't be analysing it in this video. The first project we will look at is Lake Garden Residences, which will appeal to those looking to move in within about a year. For each project, I've summarized 3 main pros and cons. Some are from a location perspective and some are based on feedback from clients who have seen the project. Looking at the location, this project will definitely appeal to nature lovers. There is a side gate that leads directly to the Jurong Lake Gardens, and more than 70% of the units enjoy views towards the park. And also having Taman Jurong Market nearby with plenty of good food options. However, some of the downsides are that it is about 1 km from the MRT and there are not many schools within the 1 kilometer radius. Also, Lake Life Condo next door transacts at about 1438 PSF on average, while Lake Garden Residences is currently at about 2169 PSF. That's almost a 600 PSF difference. So buyers may lean towards buying Lake Life as a resale instead because of the price points. Lake Garden Residences is now about 91% sold, but there are still a handful of balance units left for 3 to 5 bedrooms. Here are some of the floor plans and price points. We have the 3-bedroom premium at 1012 square feet, and the starting price is from about 2.393 million. We also have the 3 plus study, which is 1238 square feet, starting from about 2.8 million, and the 5-bedroom option starting at 3.348 million, and it's about 1550 square feet. The second project we'll look at is Lentoria. The first big strength is the school factor. It is within 1 km to CHIJ St. Nick's as well as Anderson Primary. In the Lentor cluster, Lentoria, Lentor Mansion, Lentor Hills Residences, and enjoy this advantage. It is also located on a smaller land plot, which appeals to buyers who prefer a low-density project. Another plus point is that it is closer to the HDB amenities and coffee shops located at Block 601 and 602. On the downside, among all the Lentor projects, it is one of the furthest away from the Lentor MRT and the mall, although at 411 meters, it is still considered walking distance. Another drawback is that the common bedroom sizes are generally about 8.5 square meter, which is slightly smaller compared to some of the other projects in the cluster. Also, the land size is the smallest, which may not appeal to families who prefer large-scale facilities. Lentoria is now almost 90% sold. These are some of the remaining 3 and 4 bedroom units that are still available. For Lentoria, we have the 3 bedroom at 936 square feet, starting from about 2.112 million. We also have the 3 plus study at 1119 square feet, starting from 2.915 million, which is popular with buyers who like a more landscape living and dining layout. And lastly, we have the 4 bedroom at 1206 square feet at about 2.98 million starting from. Next up, we have Pine Tree Hill at Ulu Pandan. Construction for this project is running at a good pace. So this is also a good project to consider if you are looking to move in potentially by the end of 2026. The key strength of this project is definitely the school factor, being within 1 km to Henry Park Primary. Also being developed by UOL, this project is likely to score very well in terms of the landscaping, with about 88% of the site area dedicated to lush greenery. However, for those who are familiar with the area, you will know that connectivity is not that great if you don't own a car, as the project is not near the MRT or major amenities. Also, Nava Grove, which is the harmonized project next door, could become resale competition in the future. Pine Tree Hill is now 93% sold, and there are still some decent inventory left for the 3 bedroom premium plus study as well as the 5 bedroom units. So let's take a look at some of the floor plans. First, we have the 3 bedroom plus study layout at a good 1216 square feet. There are some choices under the 3 mil mark, which I think is decent value given the size. There is also the 5 bedroom premium at 1733 square feet to consider, with prices at around 4.3 million. Now we head over to the east side, where there are still decent units at the Continuum to consider. It is located here, as you can see. It is a very big plot of land. Okay. The key value point is also that this is a freehold project. It is also within 1 km to good schools like Kong Hwa and also Head Girls and Tanjong Katong Primary. With the car pricing at around 2,009 to 3,000 PSF on average, this represents relatively decent value, especially when you consider the upcoming Bedok and Bayshore plots are likely to launch at a much higher PSF. Of course, no project is perfect. This development is further up Tanjong Katong Road and is about 680 meters a walk to Dakota MRT station. Some people have also commented that the location is between Paya Lebar and Katong, which might feel a bit neither here nor there. Lastly, if you are looking for good unblocked views, this project may not suit you as the surrounding developments such as Emery Point, Imperial Heights are built to a similar height. As of now, the Continuum is about 82% sold. The good thing is that there are still decent choices from 3 to 5 bedroom. The developer is also having some promotions for selected units, so if you are keen to find out more, feel free to DM me. For 3 bedrooms, you could consider the typical 3 bedroom premium configuration. As usual, these are very practical floor plans by Hoi Hub with good sized bedrooms and also a proper store area to accommodate the household shelter. Currently, the 1066 square feet 3 bedroom units are at the low 3 mil range. You could also consider the 1238 square feet, okay, the 3 plus study, which is at around 3.3 over million. This layout comes with a private lift and also a design that integrates the balcony nicely with the living room and the kitchen. We also have some 4 bedroom units available at the 1270 square feet configuration, starting from about 3.6 million. Now we head to District 5, where we have another freehold project by Hoi Hub called Terra Hill. Pasir Panjang usually only has small boutique developments, so Terra Hill is a decent option to consider if you like the area and prefer a bigger land size. Of course, the big plus point is also that it is freehold. So Pasir Panjang MRT is within walking distance from Terra Hill, which is a big plus, especially since it will connect directly to the CBD once the Cantonment and Prince Edward stations on the Circle Line are open. The project will also benefit from the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation that is already underway. However, because this is primarily a residential area, there are not many amenities or schools nearby. Another downside is that the neighborhood condo blocks are quite close to each other, so views tend to be quite blocked. As of now, Terra Hill is about 61% sold. A lot of the remaining inventory is for the 4 and 5 bedroom units, where prices are around 4.5 to 5.5 million. However, there are still decent options for the 3-bedroom premium and the typical 4-bedroom sizes. Here are some of the floor plans and pricings. So we have the 3-bedroom at the 969 square feet starting from 2.4 million or so. We also have the 3 premium at 1087 square feet, okay, and below the 2.8 million, which is good value. And then we have the 4-bedroom at 1313 square feet and starting from about 3.5 million. The last project we'll talk about is also in District 5, which is Alta at Clementi Avenue 1. This is likely the last condo that we will see along this stretch due to the limited remaining land. This area often makes headlines for HDB flats selling above $1 million. So one benefit of buying into this area is that we know there will be a good pool of future resale upgraders. Alta also has popular schools like Pei Tong and Clementi Primary within close proximity, though we are still awaiting confirmation if this is within 1 km. However, one consideration is that Alta is about 883 meters away from the MRT, Clementi MRT. But to be fair, most condos in Clementi are not near Clementi Central anyway. So this is something people in this area are already quite used to. It is also along the AYE, which may be a deal breaker for buyers who are very sensitive to noise, although higher floors do come with nice sea views. Another minus point is that it is not within 1 km to Nanhua, which is Clementi's most popular school. Alta is now about 71% sold, which is quite decent for a project that is only about 1 year from launch. As you can see, there is still quite a good number of units available for the 3 to 5 bedroom types. For 3 bedrooms, you have both the typical 3 bedroom and the 3 premium. Do take note that Alta is a harmonized project, so the units are generally very well sized. The typical 3-bedroom at 926 square feet is starting from around 2.6 million, and the premium 1023 square feet is starting from about 2.9 million. For 4 bedrooms, there are 3 layouts to consider. You have the 4-bedroom compact at 1184 square feet at about 3.1 million. And then the 4-bedroom premium at 1313 square feet starting from about 3.3 million. And the last 4 plus study at 150 square feet starting from about 3.6 million. For bigger families, you could also consider the spacious 5-bedroom layout at 1776 square feet, where there are still options under the $4 million. Now for the more exciting part of this video, where we get to the main question. You might be excited about the idea of buying a new launch where you can potentially move in within 2 years. But at the same time, you may still be wondering whether you should go ahead with this plan or just buy a resale property for immediate move-in instead. I thought the best way to examine this is through a case study. So in this example, we have a couple, Jason and Shirley. They are looking to upgrade from their HDB and they have a son who is 4 years old. They have been staying in Clementi for most of their lives and want to continue staying in the area. So they are looking to upgrade to a private property nearby with a budget of about 2.8 million. They have been looking at both resale properties and new launches in Clementi, and they are considering the 3-bedroom at Alta, which is priced at about 2.6 million. However, they have some doubts and concerns which are perfectly valid. Firstly, the idea of having to find a place to stay in the interim does not appeal to them, whether it is renting or staying with their parents. They find it troublesome to move house twice. Secondly, the idea of paying rent to a landlord feels like money going down the drain because they have been paying their own mortgage all this while. So they're wondering whether they should buy a resale instead and move in immediately. I'm sure these concerns also resonate with many of you, so let's analyze this and see if we can look at it from a slightly different point of view. So the first concern is about having to move house twice. One thing we have to acknowledge is that moving house is uncomfortable no matter what. So we also need to think about the end objective. Here I've shared the general timelines for selling of HDB and also buying of a private resale. I won't go into too much details, but I'll highlight the key points. In general, the process of selling an HDB is longer than buying a private property. From option to completion is about 4.5 months. If everything lines up perfectly and assuming your buyer grants you a 3 months extension of stay, the whole process could be around 7.5 months. If you buy a private property at the same time, ideally you only pay the option fee after your HDB buyer has exercised. In a perfect scenario, the completion dates line up nicely and you get about 3 months during your extension stay to renovate and move in, which is already quite tight. But if things don't line up perfectly and you don't get an extension or you can't find a suitable resale unit in time, then it is very likely you'll still need an interim place to stay for a few months anyway. So this is something to consider even if you are buying resale. The next concern is the idea that paying rent feels like money going down the drain. I do understand where this comes from, especially since in Singapore, most of us are brought up with the idea of home ownership. But if we take a step back and look at it more holistically, the discussion is really about cost. Apart from rental, there are also other costs involved, whether you buy resale or new launch. First, there is the interest cost of your loan, which is the pure cost of borrowing from the bank. Next, there are monthly maintenance fees, which have gone up over the years. And there is also property tax. Which is a fixed cost. All these need to be considered. If you look at the interest component more closely, there is a difference between resale and new launch. In this example, we are looking at a purchase price of 2.6 million. Assuming a 75% loan over a period of 30 years at 1.5% interest rate. For a resale property, you will be serving the full loan immediately upon key collection. The monthly installment is about $6,730, out of which about $2,438 will actually go to your interest. For new launch, because it is under construction and on a progressive payment scheme, the installments are much lower in the early stages. Using a mid-stage progressive payment as a guide, the monthly installment is about $2,692 here. And around $975 will actually go into your interest. Next, let's look at rental. Because Jason and Shirley want to stay in Clementi, they're only considering renting within this area. They're fine with older condos, so they're looking at places like Regent Park, where 3-bedroom units are renting for about $4,600. Or even Waterfront at Faber, which the 3-bedroom units there are around $4,200. Now let's put all these costs together. For a resale property, the monthly interest is about $2,438 per month. And we also add in maintenance fee of about $350 and property tax about $200. Rental is zero because they move in immediate. So the total monthly cost is about $2,988 per month. For a new launch, the monthly interest is about $975. There is no maintenance fee or property tax yet. But we add in the rental, which is we assume to be about $4,500. So the total cost is $5,475 per month. If you look at both options over 2 years, this is what it looks like. For resale, $2,988 times 24, that will be $71,000. Assuming renovation is about $100K, then the total cost will add up to be about $171,000. For new launch, the $5,475 monthly rental for 24 months will equate to $131,000. Assuming renovation is about $40K, then the total also add up to about $171K. So when you compare both, the total cost is actually very similar. Of course, we are assuming a 2-year waiting period. If you need to rent for 3 or 4 years, then resale will naturally make more sense. Now, here is a summary of the pros and cons of buying a new launch. From an emotional standpoint, all things equal, most people would prefer to be the first owner of a brand new home. It is a bit like driving a brand new car versus a used one. Another benefit is that you save on the renovation costs, because most new launches are quite ready to move in. Some projects may also have better upside potential compared to older resale properties, although this is never guaranteed. On the downside, waiting 2 to 3 years may not suit every family. Some people are also not comfortable with staying with their parents or renting after owning their own home for so many years. And lastly, with new launches, we are buying based on floor plans and simulations and not the actual finished product, unlike resale where you can see the real physical thing. So we have come to the end of this video. I hope this has been useful for your upgrade planning. If you are still deciding between resale and new launch, feel free to contact me via WhatsApp and I can run through your own situation with you. Thank you for watching and do remember to subscribe. Bye-bye.